Okay, so I did a video a few days ago to kick off free agency. Sorry. On the first day of free agency, Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving both signed with the Brooklyn Nets. And in my mind, my opinion about this is that before you get excited with a whole bunch of high expectations for the Brooklyn Nets and how far they can go, there's a couple of really key factors to take into account. A couple of points that I made were relating to Kevin Durant's injury, Kyrie Irving's mindset as far as wanting to be a leader but not exhibiting leadership role, like the necessary traits of a leader. I mean, he's more trying to speak it into existence than actually trying to change the way he plays and change the way he conducts himself on a basketball court to better suit his teammates. And you know, at the time I said that the log jam at the point guard position, also a lot of the other role playing positions like center, power forward, who would be going into those roles. Now they signed DeAndre Jordan, but DeAndre Jordan is not a power forward, and I don't think at this point in his career he's able to play power forward with the speed that's at the power forward in the NBA now. I think it's going to be really hard for DeAndre Jordan to be able to cover that, and I don't know if Jared Allen has the agility and plus the defensive skills, especially with playing at the perimeter, to be able to play power forward. So that could be an issue. And if you do have DeAndre Jordan playing a significant role, the only role that I could really see him fitting into is coming off the bench and being that second unit starting center, or being that second unit center. But with all that being said, I mean, I expect the Brooklyn Nets to be somewhat entertaining next year. I just don't expect them, or next season, I just don't expect them to be what people are expecting them to be, and that's championship contenders coming out of the East. Not yet. But I want to hear what their thoughts are, their opinions are on the situation.
Have we gone overboard here with the criticism of the Knicks? Were they smart to readjust their plans?
It's two-pronged question. Are we...
Depending on how bad the Knicks wanted Kevin Durant or Kyrie or both, if they are regretting not signing them, yes, they made mistakes. If they don't regret not signing them and they felt like they did what was best for their team and they, brought the necessary pieces to build around their young star the young player that they got who could be a star, and RJ Barrett, if they feel like that they put the necessary pieces around him to, get the most out of him, then I think that they were relatively successful. But again, we don't know what the Knicks, unless the Knicks come out and say, or they infer to a certain direction of if they're satisfied or if they're not satisfied. I mean, all this is just speculation, man, because we could say that they made mistakes, or we could say that they dodged the bullet or something, but we don't know unless we know how they're feeling about it.
Are we criticizing too much? I don't think so. I think you got to go back to even 2010 when the Knicks had money, big free agency class. It was Amari. They ended up getting Joe Johnson, LeBron James, Chris Bosh, and all they got was Amari out of it. So it's been a trend set here.
Well, I don't think that the Knicks were going to get Chris Bosh, LeBron James, players like that. So at that time, the only player that was even comparable to a LeBron James or Chris Bosh was Amari Stoudemire. And let's not get it wrong, when Amari Stoudemire first signed with that team, with the Knicks, he was relatively effective until he got hurt. And once he got hurt, then his value changed, and now people look at the signing differently because of how it ended. But when Amari first went to that team, he was a very big factor on that team. I'm not saying the team was a playoff team, but you could just notice that he had all the ability at that time to make it worth the team's while to sign him. But they weren't going to get a LeBron James or a Chris Bosh out of that, and D Wade wasn't going to leave Miami.
With New York not getting those big time players this year, the whole year was, well, it's Kyrie and it's KD to New York. It's Kyrie,
KD and Kyrie.
Well,
get it in order. Get it right.
That's semantics. But,
no, it's not.
Well, I'm saying in regards to them going.
Yeah.
Okay, but here's the thing. From what I gather, the retooling or the thought process of free agency was based upon KD and Kyrie going together.
Yeah.
They knew that that wasn't going to happen, that Kyrie wasn't coming there. So they knew that KD wasn't coming there. So they had to look at it and say, we have to figure out ways now to bolster our team. It's not going to be the free agency we want, but we have to figure it out. That's what I'm told, that they knew.
And since they didn't get Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving, my thoughts on the moves that they made, getting Taj Gibson, Julius Randle, and assortment of other players, I thought they did decent. I mean, I'm not going to say they did great. They did decent. They did a decent job with building a young core, and Julius Randle is a lot better than people are giving him credit for. Now, I'm going to do a video some other time, but I watched a segment on First Things First revolving around Ben Simmons, and the comparison between Ben Simmons and Julius Randle came up, which I want to do a video. I just gotta wait till it's on YouTube so that way I can just load that up and I could do it from there. But Julius Randle is a lot better than people give him credit for, and they use Julius Randle, especially a lot of these Knicks fans, they use Julius Randle as a talking point to make fun of the Knicks moves, when Julius Randle was a lot better than a lot of other players on the Knicks or any other team. There's a lot of players that he's better than. So, I don't know, man. We'll see.
That Kyrie wasn't coming, which meant that KD was not going to come. So they had to rethink free agency and who to get in order to fill out their roster.
Well, they didn't want Kyrie by himself.
Exactly.
Without KD. Once KD got hurt.
When reports came out that Kevin Durant might not sign with Brooklyn, it was reported that that the Brooklyn Nets were changing their feelings on signing Kyrie Irving. Now that could have been wrong, and they could just be making this shit up just to make a story out of it. But if this is true, and I'm dealing with the if this is true, because I don't know if it is true. But if this is true, Kyrie has to be saying to himself, did I make a mistake by staying in Boston? Did I make a mistake by exhibiting the mindset that I exhibited while I was there? Because I think his time in Boston this past season hurt his image, or no, not hurt his image, hurt his brand more than anything. So, I don't know, man. For people to keep saying this, and especially about different teams, there's a possibility that this could be true, where if the Brooklyn Nets didn't get Kevin Durant, they probably weren't going to bring in Kyrie by himself. So, but thankfully for them, it's not the case. They got both of them.
It changed everything. So now it became, okay, we'd still like to get KD, and why you heard the talk at the end of KD and Kawhi joining forces, because that worked with New York. I agree with you 1,000%. I can't blame the New York Knicks for what happened in 2010, because these aren't the same people running the Knicks that were running them then. I feel as if James Dolan had...
When they're still making it seem like them picking up Amari Stoudemire was a bad decision, when at the time Amari Stoudemire was one of the best big men in the league then. One of the best. He was super athletic. He could finish at the rim. He was very physical. I would say he's a decent rebounder just based on his jumping ability and his athleticism alone. But, he was a guy that could get you probably 15 to 20 points during a good year. But he was very effective, man. Amari Stoudemire was highly coveted coming out of Phoenix. But, I don't know, man. I guess now we only live in hindsight now, and in our minds, it wasn't a good deal for the Knicks to pick up Amari, even though it just didn't work out.
It's taken a step back. The New York Knicks looked at this market and said, there are two guys that are true supermax players. There's Kevin Durant and there's Kawhi Leonard. If we can get one of those two, then we'll pay the max. If we can get both, ideally. But we're not going to go, because they easily could have gone after a Kemba Walker or a Tobias Harris or a Jimmy Butler and offered them the max and said, well, we didn't get the big fish, but you know what, we got a little fish, and we're going to put the magnifying glass of a max contract on him. We're going to make him.
If you go for Kemba Walker, you might as well just keep D'Angelo Russell. Russell is younger. I mean, he has a similar play style as the Kemba Walker. Like, you might as well just keep D'Angelo. Pay D'Angelo. Continue to improve D'Angelo. You might as well just do that. I mean, why would you lose, unless D'Angelo wanted to leave and he made his feelings known that he wanted to leave, which I don't think D'Angelo wanted to leave if it was his choice, but they wanted to go in the direction of a Kyrie, so he moved on. But if you're going to go with Kemba, you might as well just stay with D'Angelo Russell, man.
Look like big fish. Well, how many teams did that when the TV revenue bumped up? And how many of those contracts have since been moved as a result of that? The Knicks still have a team to build, but ultimately, they didn't make a mistake yesterday. And I don't know, maybe the Nets did, maybe they didn't. They're last in attendance. It's a plus for them on the business side, but I'm not convinced that they won the day.
See,
the press conference.
I just think James Dolan is an easy target, and he's fresh bait to throw into your social media fodder and get.
No, the reason why the Knicks are looked at as clowns for not being able to pick up somebody of significance in free agency is because a lot of people are Knicks fans and they have high expectations for the Knicks because of just the name. And this, when I made that video, this is what I was talking about. You can't live off just your name. The Lakers can't live off just their name. It doesn't matter if LeBron is there or not, man. I don't think anybody wants to go to LA, honestly. Management, I think, look, man, to these players, management is a huge contributing factor on whether or not they sign with you. And I think that's why Paul George wanted to stay in Oklahoma City. One, he probably did like the players there. He probably did like the environment there. But I think the biggest factor was that Oklahoma City has really good management, man. They have really good management, and they know how to draft. They're smart with their money. I mean, they did, keep Westbrook, but, I'm not going to hold that against them. I mean, you can't find another Russell Westbrook out here, but I don't know, man. That's why I think Paul George stayed there. This is why certain players stay where they are. One, it could be the money, but I think it has more to do with the front office and the moves they make. I think that holds I don't think people don't talk about that enough, but I think that holds a huge section of a player's mind is the front office competent enough to build the championship team around me or, whatever. So, I don't know, man. I think that plays a big factor.
Retweets and likes. I don't believe he's stopping the Knicks from having success. Do you?
No, I don't. And talking to some people close to it is that James Dolan has admitted before basketball is not my forte in regards to evaluating talent. I know how to run a business. That's why you put a Steve Mills and Scott Perry in place so they can make those decisions. Even before that, you think about this. James Dolan, he went out and got what? Phil Jackson. There's a reason why, because of a basketball mind that could do the right thing, supposedly. Right. Phil was different because not having his hands on the product, the players, as a upper management compared to coaches, two different things. So James Dolan has done some things to put some things in place. They just didn't work out. And in his case, he's going to be the scapegoat all the time.
Well, here's the other part.
These owners, and I get it, I mean, they own these teams, so they want to sit wherever they want to sit. But these owners really need to consider just going back up to the suites. I mean, it's probably nothing like sitting courtside, on game day. I'm pretty sure there's nothing like that. But a lot of these owners get fucked up in their lives because they're too interactive, they're too accessible, They need to be up somewhere where they're not getting in as much shit. And I believe if James Dolan was up in the press box, and even if the Charles Oakley thing was still a thing, I don't think it would have been as public as him sitting on on courtside and having that fallout with Charles Oakley. If he would have just went back up into the suite and just stayed up there, a lot of these people just need to stay up there. And honestly, I'm starting to think a lot of these top-notch celebrities need to be up there, like Drake. Drake is way too involved in the game, and what I mean by involved is he's too touchy. He's on the court. I mean, he's doing all this buffoonery shit out there, and he's not even a fucking player or associated with the team at all. All he is a fan. That's all Drake is a fan. He's a high-profile fan. That's it. But he, since he is high-profile, that gives him the cachet to rub the coach's shoulders in whatever weird way he wants to rub his fucking shoulders and be on the fucking court and interact with the players however he want to say. And see, this is why these players, they get tired of that shit and they're ready to knock somebody's fucking head off. And that's what happened with Ron Artest. These fans get it in their head that just because you sit so close to the fucking court, you think that you're involved in the game. You want to be involved in the game? Fine. And whatever happens, happens. But I believe that was a different time, man. And, nobody wants to get arrested or anything like that. But, I don't know, man. I wouldn't be surprised if Drake get into a fight with one of these fucking players, man. For real. He almost got knocked out by Kendrick Perkins. So, I don't know, man. James Dolan really needs to consider sitting up in the press box, man. Or the suite. And not being as accessible to the fan base as he is right now. Maybe the fans won't be exposed to a lot of the shit that's going on with the Knicks right now if he just goes up there.
Kevin Durant was ready and willing to become a New York Knick before he blew his Achilles. James Dolan wasn't standing in the way of that. Kawhi Leonard was willing to have a meeting with them. James Dolan didn't prevent that from happening.
If Kevin Durant really wanted to be a Knick, he would have been there. Oh, well, the Knicks didn't want to offer him a max contract because of his injury. That's their choice. If you really want to be there, you're going to work it out. Even if your contract's not a max contract, I'm pretty sure you could throw some incentives in there based on how you play that will booster or bolster the amount that you'll make in your contract. So it may not be a max contract, but it should be sufficient enough. If he really wanted to be there.
And blowing his Achilles changed his viewpoint of what it would be like to go to New York by himself. Now he wanted somebody to go with him. The Knicks weren't going to be in. They didn't want to go with Kyrie because they didn't want to put their team in the hands of Kyrie for a year until KD got back. They would do it with Kawhi. Kawhi said, I'll play with you, KD, but I want to do it in LA. Let's do it with the Clippers. KD was like, well, I want to play with you, but I want to do it in New York. Right. So ultimately, KD didn't get what he wanted. He got the next best thing. He got to play with one of his guys, and he got to play in the New York market. It just wasn't with the team that he originally thought he'd be playing.
The reason I bring up this James Dolan topic, and the reason why I'm passionate about it, is because I was sitting back just looking. Everybody put a clown suit on this guy yesterday, and I'm going to admit my bias. I'm friends with Isaiah Thomas. And I love Isaiah Thomas, and I have a lot of respect for Isaiah Thomas. And James Dolan empowered him. And people can take their little pot shots or whatever, and they can distort things. But also I look at James Dolan and go, well, he's also empowered Steve Mills. He's also empowered Scott Perry. I've known Scott Perry for more than 20 years. And I'm just looking at everybody blast James Dolan on one hand, and then they blast the ownership that doesn't give minority men, black dudes, an opportunity to be in power. Well, here's an owner that does it, but he's the most incompetent guy in sports, and I just don't buy it. His New York Rangers today got a hell of a free agent in hockey. They've played for the Stanley Cup Finals with him owning the team. I just think a lot of the criticism of James Dolan is completely overblown.
Part of it, too, is that...
Yeah, I wouldn't go too far with comparing basketball to hockey. And you can compare management skills with being able to pick up certain pieces, I guess, but hockey and base basketball are two different things. I don't know, it's just different.
You want to have this aura about the Knicks basketball. okay, about this being relevant. That was in the, late 80s, 90s, okay? A little bit further in there. But if you go back to the golden years in 69, 70 when they won it, 72, 73, okay, they got it. But other than that, you can't keep putting that on like this is New York, the best place to play.
Right.
These young guys don't look at it. Yeah, Madison Square Garden is great to go play in. We love the atmosphere. But from a
Yeah, we love to come there, put up 50-plus points on your team, embarrass your whole organization, and then just roll out. But all the while we're doing that, we're doing nothing but building up exposure for ourselves and our team on this side. I mean, the Madison Square Garden, and this is what I said last time, man. Madison Square Garden is so overhyped at this point. So is the Staples Center. It's so overhyped at this point. People think just because you're at the Lakers or the Knicks, MSG, Staples, LA, and New York, that you can do what you want and you can still get what you want. And that's not the case, man. Most of these young guys nowadays, they like being wooed, man. They like being courted. So...
team perspective, it didn't. And I'll tell you what, the Lakers almost fell into that a little bit in regards to being not relevant with the younger crowd or the young kids that are coming up because they didn't see the Lakers being successful. So living under that auspice, I think the expectations from people, especially in New York, that we're the Knicks, we're supposed to win. Well, it doesn't work like that a lot of times.
A lot of people believe that. A lot of people believe that the NBA isn't the NBA unless the Lakers are succeeding and unless the Knicks are succeeding. Oh, Jesus. So I mean, it is what it is, man.
Now, to your point about Dolan, listen, he's tried to pull the strings and do things the right way. Steve Mills, Scott Perry, they're in position. They didn't want to overpay, get stuck with a contract, 3 to 4 years down the line that they couldn't move. So they'd rather just do it a different way.
Jim Dolan has been a PR nightmare. I mean, he's done a lot of things that are not good things. But getting into a pissing match with Charles Oakley.
Okay. I didn't like that.
Come on.
Yeah.
Getting on.
This is why James Dolan should be up in the suites, and every owner should consider being up in the suites. And I get it. It's your team. You can sit where you want, but you got to think about the risk, man. So many owners is just getting cut down and being, I guess, ostracized to the point where they have to end up selling part of their shares. Like the owner in Golden State that pushed Kyle Lowry on the basketball court, and he only got a 1-year ban. Like, for stuff like that, you should either be restricted to the box for the rest of the time that you own the team, or you should be forced to sell your shares. The moment you make physical contact with an NBA player that isn't warranted or wanted, just because of who you are, man, like, you should be restricted from sitting courtside, man. You should be restricted, and I'm pretty sure that's something Adam Silver can do for the betterment of the game, man.
Video, yelling at fans, kicking them out. I mean, he's a nightmare. But the problem is, you can't then just throw everything on him. And in this instance, first of all, I've been told that it's not true that he wasn't willing to give the max to KD, or that...
And if that's the case, if he really didn't have reservations about giving a max contract to Kevin Durant, which I don't think they would, if they believe he's going to come back at least at somewhat of what he was, if not all of what he was. If they did offer him the max, KD just didn't want to be there. And that's just it. That's it. That's the bottom line. And I believe if KD wanted to go to New York, Kyrie would have followed him. So.
But the bottom line is, he's seen the medicals. And if it's not like Jim Dolan is looking at the medicals and going, I don't trust this. I guarantee you, team doctors were looking at it and giving him advice on that. And he made that decision. If you're looking at a guy at this age and saying, I don't know if this is a good bet. I don't know if Kyrie having him lead my team for a year is a good bet. Let's hold fire a little bit. I can't look at that and go, boy, Jim Dolan, he's an idiot again. That, to me, seems like a fairly shrewd move on my part.
Which leads to my last point on this. I don't like this KD-Kyrie marriage. I don't think it's going to work in Brooklyn. I don't I don't see these guys playing.
You're talking about two young, extremely talented players. Kevin Durant, who might be the best player in the NBA right now. You're talking about two young, extremely talented players who have no leadership abilities, who Kyrie wants to be a leader, and Kevin Durant acknowledged already that he's not a leader. So who the fuck is going to lead this team? Because every championship team had a fucking leader. Every championship team had a fucking leader. And this team doesn't. Because Kyrie wants to be, but he doesn't have the required skills yet. And Kevin Durant has already acknowledged in Golden State that that's the reason why he joined Golden State, is because he's not a leader. And, you know, he needs help. And there's nothing wrong with that. But who the fuck is going to lead this team? That's what I want to know. And I can't wait to see.
Well together. And I think the book is out on Kyrie. He's flaky, to say the least. And he's not a guy that's a natural leader and can harness the energy and spirit and the minds of young players. I don't think, my gut today says Kyrie and KD does not work in Brooklyn.
I'm going to push back on that because of the friendship that the two have. It's different like when it was Kyrie in Cleveland and then LeBron came in and sold the show. He treated him like a little brother. Kyrie really wasn't involved in that. He didn't really like that. I think with these two, it's a little bit different. And
I think I'll also think another aspect to that whole dynamic between Kyrie and LeBron was that everything was orchestrated for LeBron's return. If you think that them getting all those first round picks was an accident, you're crazy. They even had one year where they had the first and fourth pick. I believe that was the first year after the first season that they completed without LeBron. They got Kyrie and they got Tristan Thompson. So you got what, 4 or 5 first round, or no, 4 or 5 top 5 picks in like 4 consecutive drafts. And I also believe that they finished in the top 10 in lottery one of those seasons where they didn't get the number 1. But they drafted Kyrie, Anthony Bennett, and the other kid's name, Andrew Wiggins. I was about to call him Anthony. Andrew Wiggins. All of that was orchestrated for LeBron's return. So when LeBron came back, they had an abundance of former first-round picks. They traded Andrew Wiggins, Anthony Bennett to the Minnesota Timberwolves with a whole bunch of other pieces to get Kevin Love. All that was orchestrated for LeBron's return, so it could help aid LeBron win a title, and his return with the Cleveland Cavaliers, man. But I don't think Kyrie wanted to be a part of that. I mean, I don't think that he wanted to be a cog in LeBron James, machine. Like, he wanted to do his own thing. That's why I don't have a problem with him wanting to leave. But you have to be able to learn how to lead. First, you got to learn how to lead. That means following a leader. You have to learn how to lead before you're able to take over your own team, man. And I think he rushed it. And I'm not saying he rushed leaving Cleveland. He rushed trying to be a leader when he could have just learned under Brad Stevens, tried to become a better basketball player, because he did become a better basketball player leaving Cleveland, going to Boston. He did become a better defender. He became a more consistent defender. He was, I won't say that he was better offensively, like more efficient, but I don't know. He just became a more well-rounded basketball player, in my opinion. And I don't know. I think he just tried to rush the leading thing too much.
And I'll say that what I love about KD is that KD is comfortable playing off the ball too. Okay, a lot of times in that Golden State offense, KD was off the ball. Now, at the end of the game, depending on who's rolling, the ball is going to be in their hands. But I think this is a different dynamic because the two chose to go together. So that means they've been talking for a while, and they are friends. So to me, when stuff maybe gets out of kilter, goes wrong a little bit, I think they can go back to that friendship a little bit more.
Friends shouldn't do business.
Well, yeah.
Bad. Yeah, well, I get that.
So this to me strikes.
If that's the case, LeBron shouldn't have went to Miami. KD shouldn't have went to Golden State, and now KD and Kyrie shouldn't be teaming up because they're all friends. D Wade, Chris Bosh, and LeBron James. I know LeBron and D Wade are friends, but I would consider Chris Bosh a friend of theirs because they all came out the same year. So that means that they were around each other for months before the draft. And they probably built up a rapport as they became pros and over the years. Otherwise, I don't think that. I don't know, man. I just think that it would have been a better fit if they all got along, because chemistry is very important. So, I don't know, man. Like I said, I don't think that this is going to work out the way people are expecting. I'm not saying that they won't make the playoffs or some shit, but they won't be as competitive. Now, if they win a title, I will be thoroughly surprised. But we never know until it happens, I guess. All right, I'm out.